Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all to my English class today. Today we are going to learn the seventh unit, Nation and Diversity. Before going into the content, students, today let us learn what is nation and what is the word diversity means. Nation is not called just a country. Nation includes the people. Nation includes the people, different sort of lifestyles, traditions, cultures, civilizations, what they have been following under one roof. What is that one roof? India. So that is called a nation. So nation is not just a country. Country is different from nation. Country is a word which is used when we say like geographical area, or maybe how many countries are there in this continent. We can say like hardly 20 to 25 countries. So in that way, we don't say how many nations. Then why we have to use nation, and when we have to use the word nation? Nation is a word which is used in the terms when we talk about the people, people's lifestyles, people's traditions, people's all the customs, whatever is included, and how they have been living. So these all includes the nation and the political power, the governance, A to Z. That is what. When a person speaks about a nation, that means he is talking about the people of that nation, particular nation. So what is diversity? Diversity is difference. So our nation, India, we have many diversities, like different languages we speak, different sorts of apparels we wear, we worship different gods, our food habits are really different from north, east, west, and south, right? So these are all differences, these are all diversities. Even though we have so many differences, we all are stand together as under one roof, as we are talking about one nation, that is our India. India is a nation of different diversities, but still we are one. So part of this, knowing about our country and country's people, today we, as a reading, we have my childhood. My childhood, my dear students, do you know whose childhood we are going to learn today? Today we are going to learn one of the greatest personalities of India. His name is written in the history of India, and no way we would never forget this legend. Who is that man? None other than APJ Kalam. APJ Kalam. He wrote his autobiography, which is called Wings of Fire. Wings of Fire was written by APJ Kalam. Okay, so from this book, My Childhood is a chapter which is included for you, my dear students. A chapter is an or an extract or a piece from this Wings of Fire is given for you guys as a chapter or a lesson or a reading. You know what? It's you 10th standard students are really blessed to know this chapter. We learned so many different things as a student, as the students of tender age, as we are all 10th standard students. This is the last stage of our class in a school. After all, after that, you may get into the college. But you are really fortunate to learn this, my childhood students, right? So, before getting into the chapter or this reading, who is APJ Kalam? You all know this man requires no introduction at all, right? Kalam, let us speak for two or three things about what is Kalam. Was the 11th president of India. He served India as a first man in the 11th as the 11th president of India. He was a scientist. He was called as a missile man of India. He holds more than 20 degrees and doctorates. On his birthday, the world celebrates World Teachers' Day. You know what? On his birthday, the world celebrates World Teachers' Day. See, such a honor is given to that great APJ Kalam, and we must feel so proud of him being an Indian, right? So students, so today, let us get into the chapter, get into the lesson. His childhood, my childhood, which was written by APJ Kalam. Today we are going to learn. Okay, are you all ready, students? So let us learn. APJ Kalam, when he was he was born into a middle-class Tamil family. He was born into a middle-class Tamil family. All right. So, you know Rameshwaram. It was an island town which is situated in Tamil Nadu. Now we say Tamil Nadu, but some couple of years ago, when this man was born, that place was called as Madras State, erstwhile Madras State. Tamil Nadu was called as Madras State, and you know that was a small town, island town, Rameshwaram. That village, the greatest fortune, right? So this man was born in a middle-class Tamil family, okay, in island town of Rameshwaram, which was a part of Madras State in India. Okay, students. So speaking about his father's name is Jainul Abdi. Jainul Abdi. His father was neither formally educated nor he was a wealthy man. Despite these two disadvantages, students, he possessed great innate wisdom. అపారమైన జ్ఞాని అన్నమాట. Who is that? Jainul Abdi, the father of APJ Kalam. He possessed innate wisdom, సూక్ష్మ గ్రహణం, సూక్ష్మ దృష్టి, ప్రతి ఒక్క విషయం మీద చక్కటి నాలెడ్జ్ ఉన్న వ్యక్తి అన్నమాట. He was not wealthy. Neither he was wealthy nor he was formally educated. But he possessed great innate wisdom, and also he has a generous heart. He always looks into the troubles of the people, and whoever comes to him for help, this man never says no for them. Whatever he has, whatever he got to help them, he helped. Such a personality, Jainul Abdi, who is the father. Okay, let us talk about Ashiamma. She is the mother. Ashiamma was the mother of Abdul Kalam. She was an ideal soulmate who supported Jainul Abdi. Even she had fed many people rather than their own family members. Like every day, this Ashiamma used to feed so many people, whoever came to her for, with hungry, with an empty stomach. Ashiamma used to serve them food. Such a great, kind woman. You know what? These two characteristic features were inherited by our Abdul Kalam. Okay, so Jainuddin, he was not formally educated nor a wealthy man, but Jainuddin, he possesses great wisdom and also he has a generous heart. And same like Ashyama also, she used to feed every day. Along with this Kalam's family, there were many other people used to eat. Their number was very high than these family members. Okay, so this is so what kind of a house they were living in? Actually, Jainuddin was not so rich, right? As I told you. Then when he was born, what was the house and how this was made? You know what? This Kalam's house was inherited, ancestral inheritance. They got a house which is made up of, it was Pakka house made of limestone and was built in the middle of the 19th century, like 1850s, 1850s. Okay, it was inherited ancestrally, like for fathers to fathers, fathers to sons. Jainuddin got that same Pakka house, they were living in that. It's a huge house. In those days, it was built with the limestone in the sense it says so much, right? It must be a huge house, you know. And his family consists of 4 brothers and 1 sister. Like Jainuddin and Ashyamma have 4 boys and 1 girl. So now Abdul Kalam has 3 brothers and 1 sister. You got to understand that point. Okay. So when he was in childhood, Abdul Kalam, when he was in his childhood was so secure, isn't it? Such a loud parents, like he got emotionally fine. Emotionally fine. And what about materially? Actually, Jainuddin, as he had great innate wisdom, this man never wanted to have their children grow with luxuries. Unwanted luxuries are not recommended or not encouraged by the Jainuddin. So he's a simple man. What is required for the children? Necessarily, those things were provided. So let us see the food, shelter, clothing, medicine, and education. What more than that? A child, we all require. We need shelter, right? We need food. We all need medicine. We all need education. We need no clothing. So our Kalam says that Kalam's childhood was so secure, materially as well as emotionally. Emotionally, how we can say these people are, these both are really so generous for others. Then you can expect how much they could have loved their children, isn't it, students? So this is what the childhood of our Abdul Kalam when he was born, like his family details and all. Okay, so it was like, you know, World War 1939. Suddenly, like he was 80 years old. Our Abdul Kalam was 80 years old when the World War broke out in 1939. So suddenly the eruption, the demand for tamarind seeds, erupted in the market. చింతగింజలకు డిమాండ్ పెరిగిందటమ్మా అప్పుడు వరల్డ్ వార్ కారణంగా. Got my point? So because of that, this our Abdul Kalam, when he was 8 years old, he collected as many as tamarind seeds and he sold them to the provision shop, and he used to earn some money. That is called one anna. Like you know, some 50 years ago, there used to be currency called anna. Oka anna, rendu anna, moodu anna. In that way, they used to call annas. 1 anna, 2 anna, 3 anna. 1 paisa, 5 paisa, 20 paisa, 25 paisa, 50 paisa. These were there, my students. Okay, these were the coins which were used by our as an Indian currency, like some 50 years ago. I'm talking about. Okay, so students, 20-30 years also. Before 20-30 years, like it was there. These 5 paisa and 20 paisa, these were there. So this man Kalam earned 1 anna by selling tamarind seeds. Okay, and I could say something else about this Kalam. It was his brother Samsuddin who has paper distribution business. Okay, he's a marketer of the newspapers in Rameshwaram town. What was his name? Samsuddin, cousin Samsuddin. He's a cousin, students. Samsuddin was a cousin. So he was into newspapers distribution business. But due to this World War II, the train was suspended. There was no halt in Rameshwaram. The train which usually runs between Dhanushkodi and Rameshwaram, they stopped this train. They said that they suspended the train, that it must not halt in Rameshwaram town because of that World War II. Okay, so what happened then? How could the newspapers reach from Dhanushkodi to our Rameshwaram? So it has to be dumped from the moving train. So in the moving train, who it would be? Samsuddin. But when he throw these newspaper bundles outside, someone must have to catch, right? Someone will have to receive those newspapers and has to distribute the newspapers in Rameshwaram town. Naturally, that slot was filled by who? Our Kalam. Our Kalam helped his cousin Samsuddin in distribution of newspapers from a moving train. From a moving train, these newspapers were collected by our Kalam and distributed in the Rameshwaram town. So Samsuddin helped him, our Abdul Kalam, for earning first wage, first salary. We can say like first salary was given by Samsuddin. You know what? In his in this chapter, he says that I can still feel the surge of pride after 50 years. You know what? That was the first earning money on his proudly, he say, like that feeling rests with this Abdul Kalam in his in this my childhood itself. I can still feel the surge of pride after 50 years still he can feel that surge of pride earning his own wage, students. Okay, this is all about this characteristic, what it says. Like man, Kalam, right from his childhood, he was so responsible for his family. Got my point? Students, he's so responsible and he's so cautious child. He used to read the newspapers as the headlines about the war stories, which were told by his brother Jalaluddin, brother-in-law Jalaluddin. He used to tell about these war stories to him, which were read by him in the newspaper Dinamani next day. How many of my 10th standard students, I am questioning you, were reading and updated with the world? Are you reading any English newspaper these days? Please be updated, students. See, Abdul Kalam, like it's like 70 years ago, he had that great habit. Therefore, habits mold our personality, students. Such a great habit of reading newspaper at the age of 8 to 9 years old, at the age when he was 8-10 years old. That newspaper name also he still didn't forget. That was Dinamani. Dinamani was the newspaper. He could know what is happening around the world in those days. He was well updated, even though it was a town, students. Okay, fine about these all things. How he earned his money right at that age. Okay, that was good. So let us talk about his 3 friends. He has 3 friends. Ramanatha Shastri, Aravindan, Shiva Prakasha. These three were closest friends mentioned in his Wings of Fire. Ramanatha Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, who was the head priest in Rameshwaram temple. Head priest in Rameshwaram temple. Pedda Pujari Anamata in Telugu, if we say Rameshwaram temple. Evaru Ramanatha Shastri. So after his legacy, this Ramanatha Shastri became the same. He had taken the priesthood. పౌరహిత్యం తీసుకున్నాడు ఇద్దరు కూడా పెద్దగా అయిన తర్వాత ఇప్పటి కూడా రామేశ్వరం టెంపుల్లో పెద్ద పూజారి అయి ఉంటాడని చెప్పేసి చెప్తున్నాడు ఎవరు మన అబ్దుల్ కలాం. సో నెక్స్ట్ హూ ఇస్ అరవిందన్? హూ వాస్ అరవిందన్? అరవిందన్ was into transport business. He used to arrange vehicles for the pilgrims whoever visited this Rameshwaram temple. అతనికి ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ బిజినెస్ ఉన్నమాట. నెక్స్ట్ శివప్రకాశం. శివప్రకాశం had taken the contract of Southern Railways catering. So that business was done. These three are these three are from Orthodox Brahmin families. Our Kalam is a Muslim. Okay. Our Kalam, but still, such a great family that was like, when he was in childhood, our Kalam's mother and grandmother used to teach him the stories of Ramayana. How great the people are, right? Those days. In Ramayana and also from the Quran, prophet stories. These were the bedtime stories when he was a child. And you know what? If I wanted to tell you this very clearly, our Kalam's father, Kalam's father used to arrange boats for Sita and Rama, Lord Sita, Lord Rama, like for their marriage. This man, Jainulabdin, used to arrange boats to take the idols of Lord Rama and Lord Sita from here to middle of the pond, where there is a stupa or the temple in midst of that pond. You got my point? Once again, I will repeat my dear students. Jainulabdin has a boat business. They used to have boats. One must have to travel on the water on the boats, right? So these boats were used by the Hindus for the marriage of Lord Rama and Goddess Sita in a pond wherein a temple used to be there. From here to there, he used to allocate those boats, arrange boats to the Lord Rama. See, there were no religious feelings in those days. When he was a childhood, that Rameshwaram island is very rigid. No social inequality was there. One small incident I would like to tell you, which was mentioned in the students. When Abdul Kalam was in 5th standard in elementary school of Rameshwaram, when he was in 5th standard, like 5th standard in the sense, Abdul Kalam was just 10 or 11 years old. An incident took place. What incident, There came a new teacher who was a Brahmin. In the classroom, Ramanatha Shastri, who was a Brahmin and he was the son of that priest, great big head priest. Ramanatha Shastri used to sit with our Abdul Kalam. They were used to sit in the first bench together. This boy, our Abdul Kalam, he used to wear a cap which marked him as a Muslim. And this boy, who is Ramanatha Shastri, half tortured head with a ponytail back and also like sacred thread on his chest. That purely marked them. One is Brahmin, the other one is Muslim. These two sat in the first bench. This this new teacher couldn't digest the sight according to the social rankings. This boy Kalam must sit on the last bench. How could he sit with a Brahmin, that too in the first bench? Oh my God, he couldn't tolerate that sight. So immediately he asked Kalam to get up. Kalam, please go and sit in the last bench and never do this, sitting in the first bench with the Brahmins. Okay. So when this was done, Kalam felt so bad and he felt so sad. Even this Ramananda Shastri, he was the closest friend of Abdul Kalam. He felt so bad and his face was utterly downcast. Like he almost cried there, Ramananda Shastri, because separating his friend on the name of social ranking, that innocent small children, they broke their heart. And in the evening, they went to their family and they told whatever happened in the school to their respective parents. Next day, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the head priest of the Rameshwaram temple, he summoned this new teacher. Hey, new teacher, please come here. Whatever I heard, is it true that you have separated on the social ranking of this boy, asked him to sit on the last bench? Yes, sir, I did. Because he's a Muslim. How can he sit with a Brahmin child, that too in the front? That's why I separated, sir. This new teacher said. Don't you feel ashamed of the act which you have done? They are innocent children. How could you poison their minds with social inequality? Either you must apologize their parents and Kalam for doing that poisonous act, or else leave this elementary school and our island right now. Then that teacher realized what was the guilt he was done, like what was the mistake he was done. He apologized as bluntly as this man said him to leave. He realized his mistake. And that teacher remembered these people, how great this Rameshwaram was made with the people who have no religious feelings. They were all good together. That was rigid and solid place wherein nothing can separate them. Right from the childhood itself, Abdul Kalam, he knew the values of the people. There must not be any casteism, discrimination or religious discrimination, which was seen in those days extremely high. So this was the incident really he mentioned in his childhood. So now still you also, my dear students, never ever exhibit or support or maybe encourage such kind of social inequality amongst you. All are equal before law. All right, students. So now, students, that was an incident, one incident. The other, like I would like to tell. So there used to be a teacher called Subramanya Iyer. Shiva Subramanya Iyer. This Shiva Subramanya Iyer was a science teacher. He was a rebel. He wanted to fight against such social barriers in their town. Who this Shiva Subramanya Iyer. So this Shiva Subramanya Iyer, he used to talk to the Abdul Kalam, saying that Kalam, you must study very high. Like you must have to study higher studies, and you have to par. You have to elevate the people's minds. You have to develop our city, our place. Okay. So such a relation used to be maintained between these two, teacher and a student like Abdul Kalam. So one day, this Subramanya Iyer, who was an Orthodox Brahmin, he invited our Abdul Kalam to a meal. But his wife, she was very conservative. She was grown in such a Brahmin family wherein like what all the rituals or whatever the customs, traditions were that she used to particularly follow. So as Muslim boy entered in her kitchen, she didn't serve any food to this Kalam. She felt so like pity, like something as a act which was done by his. She ran out. Then this man Shiva Subramaniam Iyer, he was actually not perturbed because of her behavior. He smiled and went near Kalam, sat together, and he served him the food, and also he ate with our Kalam sitting together. You understood now? They both ate in the same kitchen. This teacher served him. So while returning home, again Shiva Subramania Iyer said, "Oh Kalam, please don't mind what is happened here in my home. But don't forget to come for a dinner next week." Sir, already madam was because of me, you have troubled madam. This is not at all good act, sir. Please leave it. Why I have to come again? This is okay, right? I had a very good meal here and I respect you so much. Is that really required for me to come again with you and have a dinner? You know, Kalam, if I wanted to change the society, the people, the social barriers, first I have to change my house. Change my house in the sense, I have to change my family. You come again. You understand? So he's a obedient student. How could he cannot come? As the teacher said, strictly. So next time, our Kalam went to the home on the words of the teacher. On a surprise, what happened there? You know, students, the woman, the wife of Shiva Subramania Iyer, she took holding her hand, holding his hand. Whose hand? Our Kalam's hand. She took him inside the kitchen. She made him sit and she fed with her own hands. You know what? Why did she change? Only because of the discipline he followed while eating. How neat and clean a Muslim boy sat down eating food. And after eating food, he even cleaned the place. And while eating each and every galop, it was like, he got, so she understood now. She came to know that this boy is really fabulous. His whatever habits are there, they are so good. This boy is a very good boy and he is very neat and clean. His habits are very high. Like he ate as like us. I expected something bad, but it was not correct. So she wondered, she astonished the way our Kalam ate last time. Therefore, she changed her mind and she herself served food and fed this Kalam. So now, my dear students, understand how the Kalam used to be with his the habits when he was in his childhood. Got my point? So, like his 10th standard was completed in the same Rameswaram Island town. So next he wanted to go to pursue his higher studies. Then he told his father that, "Father, I wanted to go to the headquarters, district headquarters, and I wanted to continue my higher studies. What do you say?" Then the father was so happy, like as I told you, Jain Labdin has an innate wisdom. "Yeah, my child, does not a seagull, the bird, leaves its nest and fly in the sky to catch that sun. It happens one day. I know that. You have to go. You have to develop on past. I really support you, my boy. You can go. I'll support all that I want." But Ashiamma, the mother's love, you all know that she was so reluctant. She was so reluctant. Reluctant means unwilling to send his son to some headquarters, and for long leaving this island town and going so far to pursue his higher studies. That would be little, for a mother, it's not like easy for her as like father. Then the father from Khalil Gibran. So Khalil Gibran is was such a great writer. He wrote about these children come from us. We can only love the children, but not their thoughts. For they have their own thoughts. Oh, my dear Ashiamma, we have only the right to love our children, but we should not control their thoughts. And we should not opt for them to be lifelong staying with us because they have their own thoughts. We have to give the support and encouragement for them to fly their wings, on their thoughts. So you understood now. So this is how the father, innate wisdom father, Jayalal supported Ashiamma, and that's how this man got out from that Rameshwaram temple to pursue his higher education. So this is all about the childhood, students. So Abdul Kalam's childhood was so precious. You all know that. See, there was no religious act. Such a good friends. His habits were great. And his mother, father, they used to be so generous for others. Okay, the same characters were inherited by our Abdul Kalam. Like self-discipline, honesty from the father, deep kindness, and faith in goodness was inherited from Mother Ashiamma. So are the brothers and sisters. Okay, that's what our Abdul Kalam. Really, students, 10th standard. You all are so fortunate to learn about Abdul Kalam, at least one more. But if you read this book, Wings of Fire, you'll grow into a great personality. I challenge that, students. So thank you very much for this wonderful class. And signing off, students. Keep watching my video in the YouTube if you have to know something related to this my childhood once again. Thank you. Bye.